Today, we are diving deep into how a 19-year-old founder took a super specific, personal problem and turned it into an app that is, frankly, a massive success. So, let's just get right to it. How on earth does a 19-year-old college dropout build an app that makes more money than most people with a full-time job and a decade of experience? I mean, seriously, when I was 19, my biggest accomplishment was maybe passing a final exam. This is a whole different level. So, how did he do it? And look, we are not talking about a little bit of side cash here. At its peak, this app was pulling in $20,000 in 1 month. This is a real business, built from an idea that, let's be honest, most investors would probably laugh at and call way too small. Okay, so the founder's name is Ethan, and his secret weapon wasn't some huge pile of cash from investors. Nope, it was his own life experience. As a national wrestling champion, he knew a specific problem inside and out. He lived it, and that wasn't just some small edge. It was a completely unfair advantage over anyone else trying to enter this space. So what is the app? It's called Cut Coach, and its purpose is just laser focused. It helps athletes in combat sports, we're talking wrestlers, MMA fighters, boxers, cut weight for their competitions safely and effectively. It's all based on a scientific protocol, not just guesswork. And right here, this quote, this is exactly why Ethan was pretty much the only person who could have built this app. He wasn't some developer in an office guessing what his users wanted. He was the user. He felt the pain of those dangerous weight cuts firsthand. He heard all the terrible advice in the locker rooms. He knew exactly what a real solution needed to look like. So, you get the idea, but how did he actually build it? And how did he get from just a concept to a launched, money-making app in only 3 months? The speed here, that's the real story. It's pretty incredible. So check out this timeline. In June, he bangs out the first version, the MVP. Then in July, he does the smartest thing you can do. He gives it to his wrestling club, and they immediately uncovered a huge fatal flaw in his whole concept. So in August, he makes a massive pivot, completely changing the app's focus. And by September, the new version is launched to the public. That is just so fast. So what was this critical pivot? Well, his first idea was an app for coaches to manage their athletes' weight cuts. The problem? Coaches are busy. They've got their own ways of doing things. They do not want another piece of software to learn and manage. But the athletes, they're the ones who directly feel the pain. So the successful app just cut out the middleman entirely and delivered the solution straight to them, right on their phone. It solved their problem, period. And how did he build it so fast? He used what you could call an AI-first tech stack. He wasn't sitting there writing every single line of code from scratch. He used tools like Cursor, an AI code editor, to just generate and fix code in seconds. He used ChatGPT to think through the logic of features. Combine that with amazing services like Supabase for the backend and RevenueCat for payments, and what would normally take months of work now takes weeks. The lesson here is huge. You don't have to be a coding genius anymore. You just have to be a really smart system builder. Okay, so the app is live. Now the hard part, right? Getting users. But his marketing is just a masterclass in why trying to go viral is completely overrated. Turns out he didn't need millions of views. He just needed to be seen by the right few people. And this slide just perfectly illustrates that point. His first social media posts were only getting like 200 to 500 views. I mean, most creators would see those numbers and just call it a total failure. But those few hundred viewers were his exact audience, competitive fighters looking for an edge. The result? He was getting 10 to 15 downloads every single day from these so-called failed posts. The conversion rate was absolutely insane because the message was perfect for that tiny, specific market. So to scale things up, he built this brilliantly simple influencer funnel. He'd just scroll through TikTok and Instagram, find these smaller creators in the wrestling and MMA world, and shoot them a DM. He'd give them the app for free, and they would make content about it. But it wasn't some polished ad. It was just raw, authentic footage of them actually using the app to track their own weight cut. That is powerful social proof. Then, he just poured gas on the fire by partnering with bigger creators and turning their best videos into super effective paid ads. So, what do we take away from all of this? I think the most valuable part of this whole story is that it's not some kind of magic trick. It's a blueprint. It's a clear, actionable guide that, honestly, you could follow. So here it is, the 4-step plan. First, find a real problem inside a community or a hobby that you are genuinely a part of. Don't just invent one. Second, when it comes to design, don't try to reinvent the wheel.
Look at the apps you already love, study how they work, and just adapt their proven layouts. Third, build fast. Use AI tools. Getting a product into your users' hands for feedback is so much more important than making it perfect. And fourth, start your marketing with organic, super niche content to prove people actually want what you've built before you spend a dime on ads.
You know, beyond all the tactics and tools, Ethan's most important advice is really about mindset. This quote here, it reveals the huge personal shift that made all of this possible. He had to learn to actually trust his own gut, to drop out of college, to build an app for a market everyone else said was too small, to just ignore all the conventional wisdom. That internal confidence, that was the real foundation for all his success.
All right, let's wrap this up and really lock in the key lessons. Here are the hard numbers and the single most important idea you should take away from this whole story.
What's so cool about this slide is how all these numbers tell the complete story. A 1-month MVP build, supercharged by AI tools like Cursor, led directly to over $60,000 in revenue in just 6 months. And how? That revenue was fueled by almost 40,000 downloads, which were driven almost entirely by that super targeted niche influencer marketing. You see, every single piece connects perfectly.
So if you remember just one thing from today, please make it this. You do not need a viral, world-changing idea. You can build an incredibly profitable business just by solving a specific, painful problem for a small, passionate community that all the big companies have ignored.
I know what some of you are probably thinking. Yeah, but I could never do that. But this story really shows you a clear path. So I'm going to ask you, if you were to actually replicate this process for your own hobby or passion, what's the very first step you would take? Drop your plan in the comments below. I'm going to be reading through them, and I'll point out some of the common mistakes to watch out for. And hey, if you want the full list of every single tool Ethan used, plus a more detailed playbook from this breakdown, just leave a comment. We'll make sure you get it.